If your grocery bill has been climbing and you keep wondering what happened, you are not imagining it. You did not forget how to shop. You did not suddenly become bad with money. For a lot of households, especially on fixed incomes, the grocery store has become a place where the total can jump before you even reach the checkout lane. And that surprise is the point. Because in 2026, the pressure on grocery budgets is not coming from one thing. It is coming from a stack of things. Prices rise in small steps, packages shrink, promotions look better than they are. Store layouts nudge you toward the expensive choice. And by the time you reach the register, it feels like you spent more without getting much more food. The good news is this. Once you can see the pattern, you can push back. Not with panic buying, not with deprivation, with calm, practical control. So in this video, we are going to walk through where the money really goes, why the total keeps rising, and the few habits that can protect your budget on the very next shopping trip. Let us start with the part most people feel first. The checkout shock. You go in for a normal list. Milk, bread, eggs, maybe a few basics for the week. Nothing fancy. Nothing excessive. But then the receipt arrives and suddenly the total feels far higher than the cart should have cost. That is a real experience, and it has become common enough that many people now expect it, which is exactly why it keeps working. Stores count on the fact that the pain happens late. You feel the increase at the end, after the decisions are already made. That matters, because when the shock hits late, you are more likely to blame yourself instead of the system around you. Do not. The better question is, where did the extra money leak out of the plan? Part of the answer is simple price inflation. Food ingredients, labor, transportation, packaging, and energy all affect what ends up on the shelf. But that is only the visible layer. The deeper problem is that higher base costs get combined with tactics that make the increase harder to notice until you are already committed. One of the biggest is shrinkflation. Same package, less product. Or sometimes a package that looks almost the same, but the ounces are down, the pieces are fewer, or the contents have quietly changed. That is why a box or bag can still look familiar while your meals stretch less far than they used to. The trick here is not to memorize every item in the store. The trick is to build a habit of asking one question before you buy. Is this actually giving me more food or just a new price on less food? That one question protects you from a surprising amount of waste. Here is another reason your bill feels worse. Shelf tags can create confusion on purpose, even when nobody says it out loud. A bright sale sign can make a product feel like a bargain, even when the unit price is still high. A larger-looking package can seem like value when the smaller one across the shelf is actually cheaper per ounce. And a temporary promotion can pull you toward a brand you would never buy at the regular price. This is why the shelf label matters more than the advertisement on top of it. If you want one simple defense, it is this. Ignore the drama of the sign and look at the cost per unit. Not the big headline price. The cost per ounce, pound, or count. That number is the real conversation. Now let us look at the 3 places stores quietly win your money. First, eye level. Products at eye level often get the most attention, and that space is usually not random. It is valuable real estate. The items placed there are often the ones the store wants to move, not necessarily the ones that give you the best value. If you want to take back some control, do a simple scan. Look up and look down, not just straight ahead. Many store brands and lower-priced options live lower on the shelf. The store is not hiding them completely. It is just making them less convenient to notice. Second, end caps and display tables. Those are the ends of aisles, and the special-looking piles that say, "Hurry, limited time, featured deal, or stock up now." Sometimes they are good deals. Sometimes they are just high-margin products dressed up like opportunities. The visual message is urgency. The financial message may be something else entirely. A good rule is to slow down at displays, not speed up. If a product was not on your list, ask yourself whether you would still want it if it were sitting quietly in the aisle without the big sign. Third, convenience items. Single-serve snacks, ready-to-go drinks, pre-cut produce, and small pack sizes can be helpful in the right situation. But they also raise the cost of feeding a household, especially over time. When every item is designed to save a few minutes, the price per meal can climb fast. This is not about never buying convenience food. It is about knowing when convenience is worth it and when it is just expensive friction. For many households, the most expensive part of the grocery bill is not the headline item. It is the collection of little extras that seem harmless at the moment. A drink here, a snack there, a backup treat, a ready-made side, a package of something small because it felt easier than cooking from scratch. These are not moral failures. They are budget leaks, and leaks are easier to fix when you can see them. One of the best ways to see them is to notice your own shopping condition. If you shop hungry, rushed, tired, or emotionally drained, the store has an advantage. That is when impulse items become more attractive and the cart starts growing around the original plan. The hand reaches for something small, then something else feels reasonable. Then one more item seems harmless because it is only a few dollars. But the total effect can be much larger than it feels in the moment. This is why shopping from a list is not old-fashioned. It is protective. A list is not just a reminder. It is a boundary. And if you want one more layer of protection, decide before you walk in that the cart is not the place to discover your meals. The cart is only supposed to collect what the plan already decided. Now, here is where many people lose the most money without realizing it. They pay for food they do not actually use. A full pantry looks responsible. A full freezer looks reassuring. But if the food sits there until it expires, the value disappears quietly. That is why a household can spend more and still feel less secure. Real food security is not about having more stuff. It is about using what you buy. So before you go to the store, check the fridge first, then the freezer, then the pantry. You are looking for 3 things. What needs to be used soon? What can become a meal with 1 or 2 additions? And what you already have enough of. This step changes everything because it stops duplicate buying. It also lowers the chance that a full-price purchase is made to solve a problem you already had covered at home. A freezer-first habit is especially useful when prices feel unstable. It does not mean living out of the freezer. It means using it as a buffer. If you know there are a few meals waiting at home, you are less likely to overspend just because one week feels tight. That buffer creates breathing room. And breathing room is what keeps a bad week from becoming a bad month. If you have been feeling financial pressure, this is a good place to pause and recognize something important. The store is not beating you because you are careless. The store wins when shoppers are tired, uncertain, and moving too fast to compare. That means the solution is not shame. The solution is structure. Here is the first half of the defense plan in plain language: spot fake value, reduce waste, shop from a plan instead of from pressure. That is the core. And now that we have seen how the money leaks, let us move into the part that gives you more control over the next trip. Because once you understand the tricks, the goal is not to become obsessed with every price. The goal is to build a few anchors that tell you when a deal is real. Start with 10 regular items you buy all the time. Not 50, not a giant spreadsheet. 10. Maybe it is eggs, milk, bread, coffee, rice, pasta, canned tomatoes, peanut butter, cereal, and frozen vegetables. Whatever your home actually uses. Write down what feels like a fair price for each one. Not the perfect price. Just your price memory. This gives you an anchor. Without an anchor, every shelf tag can look normal. With an anchor, you can tell when a sale is meaningful and when it is just marketing. And this is where unit pricing becomes your best quiet weapon. A larger package is not automatically a better deal. Sometimes the smaller package wins. Sometimes the store brand wins. Sometimes neither is a good value and you should walk away. The shelf gives you the clue. The unit price gives you the answer. If this feels like extra work, remember what it is replacing. It is replacing the feeling of getting surprised at checkout. It is replacing food waste. It is replacing the habit of guessing. A few seconds of comparison can save real money over a month. Now let us talk about one of the calmest ways to protect yourself from emergency spending. Keep a small backup shelf. Not a warehouse. Not stockpiling. Just a few shelf-stable meal options that can cover a rough week. Things like pasta, rice, beans, tuna, soup, oatmeal, broth, or simple canned vegetables if your household uses them. The exact items do not matter as much as the purpose. The purpose is to prevent panic buys. When the fridge is empty and the week got away from you, that is when people pay the highest prices for the most convenient items. They buy takeout. They buy pre-made meals. They buy more expensive substitutions because they are in a hurry. A small backup shelf changes the decision. Now the question is not, what can I grab right now at whatever price the store wants to charge? The question becomes, what can I make from what I already have until I can shop carefully again? That one shift can save more money than a dozen tiny coupon tricks. And if you want to make the backup shelf work without turning it into clutter, tie it to a use system. Buy what you would actually eat. Put newer items behind older items. Rotate what you use. Keep it simple. Control works best when it is visible. Now let us move to a strategy that many people overlook because it sounds too ordinary. Shop at the right time and the right place. Store timing matters more than most shoppers realize, though it does vary by store and location. Some markdowns happen at certain times of day. Some departments move items at predictable points in the week. Some stores clear out produce, meat, or bakery items earlier than others. You do not need to chase every markdown like a full-time job. You only need to notice whether your usual store is always the best place to buy your regular staples. Often, it is not. This is where a two-store strategy can help. One store for some staples, another for the rest. It does not have to be complicated, it just has to be intentional. Many households save money by finding one store that is strong on certain basics, then another that is better for a different category. It might be a discount grocer, a neighborhood market, or a local ethnic market with lower prices on rice, spices, produce, or pantry staples. The point is not to shop everywhere. The point is to stop assuming loyalty is rewarded. In grocery shopping, loyalty is often expensive unless the store is truly giving you the best value on the items you actually buy. So do a small test. Compare 5 to 10 items you use every week. Check them at one alternative store. You do not need a perfect system. You need enough information to see whether your current routine is costing you more than it should. And if you find one category that is consistently cheaper somewhere else, let that store earn part of your business. That is not being difficult. That is being a smart consumer. Now let us do a mid-video reset, because this is the point where the pattern becomes useful. What have we learned so far? The grocery bill keeps rising because price increases are being layered with shrinkflation, shelf confusion, store placement, and impulse design. The money does not disappear in one giant mistake. It leaks out through a series of small decisions that are shaped by the store. Your defense is also layered. First, use a list and a pantry check so you are not buying what you already have. Second, use price anchors and unit prices so you can spot fake value. Third, keep a small backup shelf so emergencies do not force expensive choices. Fourth, compare stores on your own terms so loyalty does not quietly drain your budget. If you are following that, you are already ahead of most of the pressure. And here is the identity shift that matters. You are not a passive shopper being squeezed by prices you can never understand. You are a household manager who is learning the system. That matters because the second you understand the system, you stop feeling helpless inside it. Now let us talk about one of the easiest places to lose money after the store visit itself. Waste. A lot of grocery spending gets lost after the purchase because food gets pushed to the back of the fridge, forgotten in the freezer, or bought in quantities that are too large for the household to finish before it loses quality. Big packs are not deals if half of them go stale or spoil. That is why the real question is not, how much is in the package? It is, will my household actually use this before it goes bad? For some families, smaller packages are the smarter choice even when the unit price is a little higher. That sounds counterintuitive until you remember that wasted food is not a bargain. It is a loss. The cheapest food is the food you use. One simple habit helps here. When you come home, put the newest items behind the oldest ones. If that sounds basic, good. Basic habits are what hold budgets together. Another habit is to plan one meal from what is already open before buying the next round of ingredients. That does two things. It reduces waste and it makes your shopping list more accurate. And that accuracy matters more now than ever, because the store has become very good at making ordinary purchases feel automatic. This is especially true with convenience items. Convenience is not the enemy. Unexamined convenience is the problem. If you want a ready meal because your schedule is full, that is a decision. If you grab it because the store made the fresh choice feel harder, more expensive, or more tiring, that is pressure. The same goes for beverages, snack packs, and pre-cut items. They all have a place, but they should have a job, not a habit. Now let us look at the emotional side of the bill, because this part matters for people watching at home who may not say it out loud. A lot of grocery overspending is not really about hunger. It is about fatigue. People shop after a long day. They do not want to think hard. They want the trip to be over. And the store knows this. That is why the layout is designed to make the easiest choice feel like the default choice. So one of the best forms of protection is to shop when you are least likely to be rushed. Not everyone can do that every time. But if you can shift even one weekly trip to a calmer window, you may notice fewer impulse items and fewer expensive substitutions. A calmer shopper is a more protected shopper. And protection is really the theme here. Because the goal is not to turn groceries into a battle. The goal is to make sure your money is doing real work. Here is the cleanest way to think about it. Every shopping trip should answer 3 questions. What do I already have? What do I actually need? What is the real value of this item compared with the alternatives? If you can keep those 3 questions in front of you, the grocery bill becomes less mysterious. Now, there is one more piece that deserves attention because it can quietly change the whole month. Planned treats. This may sound small, but it matters. If your budget plan feels too strict, it is harder to keep. And when a plan breaks, people often overspend more than if they had allowed one reasonable indulgence on purpose. So instead of making the whole trip feel like denial, leave room for one planned treat. Not a cart full of extras. One item that makes the plan feel human. This matters especially for adults 50 and older who have spent a lifetime making do. A sustainable budget is not one that makes you feel punished. It is one you can repeat. And repetition is what creates stability. At this point, the full pattern should be getting clearer. Prices rise, yes. But stores also use placement, packaging, size changes, and convenience design to shape what you buy and how much you spend. If you keep shopping by feeling alone, the system wins. If you shop by pattern, you regain ground. That is the real shift. And it starts small. One cheaper swap per trip. One item you compare before buying. One duplicate you do not buy because you check the pantry first. One store you test on your next routine list. Those small choices are not small when they repeat over a month. By the end of the month, they become real money. So let us bring it all together. Your grocery bill is rising for a reason. It is not just inflation in the broad sense. It is the combination of higher base costs, smaller packages, confusing shelf messages, store placement that pushes certain products, and convenience designs that quietly raise the cost of feeding a household. But once you see that system, it stops being invisible. And once it stops being invisible, you can respond. Check what you already have before you shop. Use a small list of price anchors for the things you buy most. Read unit prices, not just sticker prices. Keep a modest backup shelf so emergencies do not force expensive choices. Compare stores on the items you actually use. And let yourself shop with calm, not pressure. That is how you protect your money without feeling deprived. Not by buying more, by wasting less, comparing better, and refusing to be rushed into bad value. If this gave you a clearer way to think about grocery spending, stick with this channel. The next reports are built to help you spot the hidden drains before they hit your budget. And if you want, start with your next shopping trip. That is where the control comes back first.